I think at this point, Cindy and I would love to open up this to the Q&A. If you have a question, please enter it into the webinar's chat box. It looks like we already have received a couple. And Cindy, I'm looking, as I'm reading, I'm looking at this. I think this first one's probably for you.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Rich. So the first question is, Cindy, what's unique about your company in its doing versus other market players? Well, first, I'll just highlight that last week, DX Continuum was bought by Serviceware. It's actually the week of January 16th, and they're very similar to us. I think what we're seeing in the marketplace is that there's very few players. It takes quite a bit of time, engineering time, to actually develop this kind of infrastructure. It's not for the weak of heart. We are quite unique from about three perspectives. First and foremost is the incredible ease of our software to use in all devices, mobile environments, etc. Our UI, because we've got a very strong sales background, we appreciate the nanosecond attention span of salespeople, and so we may be geeky savvy, but we are simplistic in sales knowledge from our roots. So we definitely, when I look at solutions like DX Continuum or a Visio, I would say that they've come more from a technical, geeky side of things, and their UI is not as simplistic. So one of our differentiators is for sure our UI experience. The other is that we've gone very deep in the insights and the reasons for the wins and the losses. I think comparatively to all the other market players, I would say that we're definitely one of the deepest in driving insights. We're also been experimenting with another solution, part of our product called Sally Says, which is an intelligent kind of bot that's learning and informing and guiding sales resources. So, you know, those would be two key differentiators. And then the third, I think, you know, if I had to put a third, I'd probably be the speed that we can drive our deployments. You know, we've structured a very, very strong configuration setup, automatic onboarding back end in our SaaS infrastructure. So those would be three reasons. Love to talk to whoever asked that question more, and do please you know, book a demo, and would love to discuss more where you're coming from. Okay, so next question, Rich, just looking here, it says, do you and Cindy offer coaching calls for 1 to 2 hours just to listen to issues, help frame a problem statement and discovery approach versus getting into a larger you know, consideration?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so we do this often. You know, we always try to start light and then figure out what's best for our clients' needs. So doing phone and Skype and GoToMeeting sharing up front, either as just pure initial introductory discovery or as coaching, if someone has a question, if they're, you know, just what a best practice is, we're happy to do that. I mean, I think I can speak for Cindy too. I mean, we have such a passion for helping organizations get an analytical culture set. It doesn't have to be an engagement for us to help. So doing coaching on the phone, having some meetings before we start getting deep into a framework scenario where we're mapping out a project, absolutely getting involved those types of conversations all the time, and would love to do that. Actually, that's the fun part.
Thanks, Rich. Next question is, what's the hardest part to watch out for in developing predictive enablement? I think both Rich and I'll take a swing at that one. I think first and foremost, I would say it's culture change, culture readiness, and having the knowledge and the skills about what the ask is. Sometimes things can appear to be in vogue or top of mind, but an organization has to have the absorption capability and also to understand the conversation. So, you know, the cultural change and the cultural readiness, I think, is really important, you know, for innovation to foster. And, you know, that would be my bet. Rich, what are your thoughts on the tough nuggets?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't disagree from the culture is a tough nugget. I usually answer that question from a different perspective. I'm saying measurement is probably the most important scenario to set up, because it forces everybody to have and buy into the vision. And so at the end, when you can show the success of a project, it helps all that work you did on the culture up front of aligning the right people, it helps solidify that for the long term. So I take it from the measurement point of view that if you can show what's going on during a process, puts everybody at ease, lessens anxiety, show the successful results, it then allows people to buy into the analytics culture and really sets it up for long term. So I think two similar answers to that same question.
Thanks, Rich. Rich, if you can answer the next question, what industries are you seeing, because you're out in the West Coast and the Valley, I know it's a sunny day out there, and Toronto, it's cloudy and gray, boo-hoo, but what industries are you seeing that are leading in predictive?
Yeah, so I'll go from our perspective versus the industry's consultants' perspective. Our clients, financial services, they lead the way. They have lots of transactional data across large data sets of customers, so they can really apply the client segmentation, machine learnings, do things like what's the next best offer. So when a client comes in and starts doing a transaction, right there, the sales team can be prepared of what's the next best for that particular customer at that given time. So certainly they have the resources, they have the breadth to attack it, and we see that happening, and those are great modeling scenarios for our team to get involved with. And I would have to say the most surprising industry that's taken off for us is really on the manufacturing side. So these are guys that certainly use high-tech tools to get their manufacturing done, but they're not technology companies. They don't have computer science departments. They don't have data analyst teams like a financial institution might have. And they've been great to work with because they have lots of data across many aspects of the business. And when we can blend that together and give them really actionable insights where we blend it with their business experience, so it's not just a computer model kicking out yes or no, it's guidance to the executive team so they can make, what I keep saying, better, faster decisions. So the surprise industry for us personally has been manufacturing. That might have been a long answer to a short question.
No, thanks, Rich. Just to throw in another little thought, IDC did some recent research. I was speaking at a forum with them just before the holidays, and their research North American-wide was that the number one, to your point, is financial services, followed by, interestingly enough, telecom and professional services. Obviously, high-tech was up there too, but the top three were financial services, telecom, and professional services from their research surveys. I think at the end of the day, it's really, do you have sufficient data volume and data quality, and do you have the sponsorship? And then, obviously, if some of those right constructs are in place, then you need to move, and you need to move quickly, irrespective of industry. The time is now. Rich, question for you is, what types of skills do you see are needed to set up a data sciences office?
Great question. My quick answer to that is it takes a team. Usually not one person or two people have all the required skill sets to do it. So from the data management side, data blending, SQL querying, to the analytics, setting up KPI dashboards, visualization capabilities, all the way up to the data science with setting up algorithms for machine learning and artificial intelligence. So that's what we offer the industry, is we have those teams. We have multiples across all those expertises. So we can, as a project evolves, the mix of that team will change. And it's really hard for especially mid-market companies to have all those resources internally as employees. So if you're getting involved with this, be prepared. It's a team. It's not a person.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Rich. Just a few other thoughts that I would lead or build on, that within the company organization, having the leader that can communicate the value, create the rallying cry, the case for action, the business construct, and the measurements before and after. And clearly resources can be brought into bear and have a mix or even an outsourcing solution. But unless the team can communicate and rally and motivate and reward, it's very hard to get the flow. It's kind of like a river, and you need to kind of unlock that energy. So those would be some other things that I often see, quite frankly. People round up the geek squad. They say, I've got a data sciences team, but they can't necessarily communicate the change agenda. And so you need to really be mindful of communication and business and articulation and motivational skills around the change agency. The next question is, Rich, and once you've got the budget and you set up the operating process, what models do you think are the most optimal, distributed versus centralized? And obviously, where should this group report into? It'll be very...
I actually think that might be the biggest unanswered question yet, because we might not have gone through enough cycles to know what the answer is for different, to say if you're this type of business, this is the best organizational model. So what I've seen work the best tends to be a strong data science team that reports to the executive level, and then have an embedded analyst and data scientists within a department, so within the sales team, within the product team, within the marketing organization, that do matrix reporting. So they're part of the marketing team, but they also get together with the data science executive levels to do all their reviews, best practices, training, and things like that. But I'll be curious to see what your answer is on this, Cindy, because this, I think, is the biggest unanswered question so far.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is that certainly the large Fortune 500 companies, are approaching things like the way you've said in terms of distributed, where they'll have maybe a chief data scientist. More often than not, that chief data scientist does report into either the chief risk officer or CFO or IT. I am not a proponent of those org structures. I think the companies that are going to leapfrog are going to see a chief data scientist, kind of strategy innovation officer, who's actually at the table, because there's an incredible education that has to go on with the leaders of the peer groups, including CEOs, CFOs, so that it's not relegated down. But I think our organizations are experimenting right now, and I often think it really depends on who the sponsor is that's actually creating the catalyst. There's a lot of skunk works going on. It's very easy for the CIO to augment his or her organizational structure because they've had information management and BI competencies servicing the organization. What people are missing is that predictive and prescriptive and advanced data sciences are actually creating a transformational capability, and we need to get the business on side more rapidly. So just a few thoughts there. So I think that comes to the end of the question section. I'm just going to have a few wrap-up comments on our next Predictive World series, and obviously I want to thank Rich in a moment. We are basically working on our time frame for locking in the next seminar. We're running these every 2 months. Currently we're in discussions to bring Aaron Ross, who's the author of Predictable Revenue, into a fireside chat with myself. Rich is a former Salesforce dude. Obviously we're partnered with Salesforce, and he's written a really interesting book around how you can drive more predictable revenue, and obviously it's around getting that data into your CRM infrastructure, so you actually have got some repeatability to forecast and can also sleep at night. Obviously we're augmenting, saying, well, if you get there, you can even accelerate predictable revenue by predictive analytics to be much more accurate. And so we're going to have an interesting discussion on what he's seeing in his global speaking engagements, and also what we're seeing. And he's also based out of the Valley. In March, you'll be getting an invitation to our next annual Data Sciences Survey. We do hope you'll participate. It'll be interesting to see, out of last year's results, how far we've moved the bar. And we'll be partnering with Provide Insights on that, with a number of other marquee brands as we move this research out into the marketplace. So in closing, you can contact myself or Rich. We welcome future conversations. I want to just pause and say thank you so much, Rich, for being with us at the top of the sort of new year, and to all of those of you that have attended, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your attendance. I'm going to close with a bit of a quote from Peter Drucker that says, knowledge has to be improved, challenged, and increased, or it simply vanishes. The time for predictive and advanced data sciences, cannot stress enough, it's now. With improvements of profitability predicted at over 17x, according to McKinsey & Co., also further validated by marquee brands like Accenture, like Forrester, like Gartner. We look forward to advancing with all of you as we believe our new world order becomes increasingly smarter with AI and machine learning methods. That being said, it's going to take smart, thoughtful business decisions to ensure that we're also balancing the human condition as well. So this series has been produced by Predictive World Series, a division of SalesChoice Incorporated. We wish you a very good day, and we'll hope to talk to you soon. Thank you very much.